We play for keeps, man.
Yeah? Well, we play for Jeeps. You join me inside the new Jeep Grand Cherokee L. This is the 5th generation Grand Cherokee, taking on the WL nomenclature. And though a 2-row version is coming, Jeep is debuting this new generation as a 3-row SUV only. But despite the added length in its wheelbase, something that typically hinders a vehicle's off-road capability, Jeep is saying this is the most capable Grand Cherokee yet. We're certainly going to put that to the test in this review. In addition to evaluating its on-road manners, its newly upscale exterior and interior to find out if this is the best Grand Cherokee ever. That's today on MilesPerHr.
And there it is, the 21 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. This one is finished in diamond black crystal pearl coat that gets you this metallic flake sparkle on the surface of the paint for only an extra $345. Call that a deal. And I'll tell you what, I'm stoked to be reviewing a black painted vehicle because it just hardly ever happens. Typically, the closest they'll give me is a gunmetal gray, and there's nothing wrong with that color. It looks awesome on certain cars, but my family was big on getting their vehicles in black, so this feels comfortable to me. And man, just step back and look at the overall aesthetic of this new Grand Cherokee. And I feel like you've got to hand it to lead designer Ralph Gilles and his whole design team for visually moving the Grand Cherokee upmarket. But let's break that down by starting up here at the front and looking at Jeep's classic 7-slot grille with these aluminum accents that when you come to the side, you'll see the top of it has this slight curve to it. That's like some other Jeep SUVs on sale, but this one just integrates so nicely with this LED daytime running light here. And then the bottom piece, this aluminum accent, tucks in to the LED reflector headlights as standard projector LEDs on this Summit trim. Dropping it down, we get LED fog lights on this Summit trim, aluminum piece down here, some functional ventilation in the grille here, but then this is non-functional honeycombing. Coming to the side now, we see the Summit trim gets a set of 20-inch polished alloy wheels that look really good with this black paint. They're very SRT-esque. Like I could see these multi-spokes on the Charger or Challenger Hellcat, but here we have them with a lot more sidewall. Pirelli Scorpion Verde all-season tires, 265 section front and rear. If you want all-terrain tires, you'll want to get the off-road package. Those come with 18-inch wheels, those tires, some tow hooks up front that go like right here and delete this black bar. Those tow hooks are rated at 1.5 times this vehicle's weight. And then you also get metal skid plates. All very useful features when you're hacking it off-road. We won't have any of those when we're doing our off-roading later. On the driver door, we get Grand Cherokee spelled out in 3D lettering that gets a period in the form of an American flag. Very cool. Down here, silver accents on the doors. You get more silver accents on top of the front and rear door handles. And more silver accents here on the body color matching door mirrors. These are heated and power folding, integrated turn signals there. And I like how the silver trim continues into this upper piece on the windows. And it's only on the upper, not on the lower. And that serves to really separate the roof of the car from the rest of the body. It's even more of an effect on Summit trims that aren't painted black because it's a black contrasted roof on those cars. Here it just blends in with the car, but on those it's a really cool effect. And in profile you can really see the extra 7 inches of wheelbase length for a total of 127.1 inches compared to the WK2's wheelbase, and it makes the Grand Cherokee L in 3-row form look longer and more elegant. Up top, you got a set of silver painted roof rails on this Summit trim. And getting to the back, we see that silver accent on the roofline continues down the D-pillar and then goes into the tailgate. I don't know how I feel about that detail. I know it's mimicked on some other Jeep SUV models. Here it looks maybe a little minivan-esque. Is that too harsh? I don't know, let me know in the comments whether you like that or not. I do like the full rear view because it's very clean, tidy. We've got these LED taillights, they're very slim. Then down here we've got silver accents on the lower bumper and these trapezoidal exhaust finishers with the actual pipes deeper within. And there are 2 real pipes. Haha. Non-functional and kind of unsure why that's there. Honeycombing there. L and 4x4 badging, denoting this is the 4x4 model. And Summit badging on the right-hand side. Jeep, of course, in the middle. So yeah, the rear view with that detail, not my favorite, but not bad. The profile and the front, though, are so effective to me. They really drive home the upscale nature of this new Grand Cherokee. And I think this is one of the best looking, if not the best looking, mainstream 3-row SUVs you can buy. This and the Telluride, they're like right there. But let's go check out that interior now. And on our way in, we'll see we've got smart keyless entry, so you can leave the key in your pocket, just pull on the door handle to unlock it. To lock it, put your finger on those 3 markers right there. We've got that for the front doors and the rear ones. What do we say to that? Maximum convenience. Opening up and looking inside at this Summit grade Grand Cherokee L cabin with the global black Napa leather seating surfaces and bronze contrast stitching here on the seat borders. White piping up on the headrest, more contrast stitching, Summit imprinted on the seat backs, perforations on the seat backs and bottoms, quilting of that bronze stitching on the seat bottoms and bolsters. Look at these beautiful looking seats, heated, ventilated, 16-way power adjustable, and massaging on a Jeep. Imagine that. Very cool. That bronze contrast stitching continues here on the door inserts. We have this very cool pattern. It's not just your typical quilting hatch pattern. This has got like extra design detail to it. That's very nice. And look at this. Open pore real wood trim. I've got to correct myself because in the live Q&A I said it was fake. Thought it was fake. I'm like, they're going to put this in this class of SUV, but they really did. Open pore genuine wood trim. Looks amazing across the dashboard. On the steering wheel insert, it's very cool. Going back to the door, we've got this leatherette topper piece where your arm might rest up there. Aluminum trim decorating the bottom of that wood trim there. Solid looking, feeling somewhat dinky door handle. Leather for the armrest, nice padding there. Window switches that aren't just your typical Stellantis shared part. These have a softer plastic touch with this metal look border to them. They feel very solid. Here are your window controls where you can power fold in the door mirrors. Hello. Down below these, however, we go into harder plastics. Not injection molding, just harder plastics. We're seeing the word Macintosh there. Macintosh on a sound system. Yes, this Jeep has a bespoke 19-speaker, 950-watt Macintosh sound system that is definitely an upgrade over the usual Harman Kardon upgraded sound systems that we find in Stellantis vehicles. The quality of the sound is much higher, especially as you crank the volume and the bass hits harder. But here's one little critique. Look at the font for Macintosh. At first I was like, oh, it's retro, it's cool. But when I look at it more closely, it's like too retro. That's medieval in the font design. It just doesn't really look like it has a place in this otherwise very luxurious cabin. Now this vehicle, in addition to having the optional Macintosh sound system, has 2 other packages. It's got the Advanced Pro Tech Group that gets you a 10-inch head-up display, night vision camera, digital rear view mirror, we'll open that in a second, or pop it down, and a interior camera system. They call it FamCam. So we've got that, and then we've also got the Luxury Pro Tech Group, which gets you a wireless smartphone charging pad in here, and then manual rear sunshades. We'll get to those in a second. Just wanted to lay out all the extras that this vehicle has. Now let's hop inside, and I'm not going to waste any time turning on this vehicle and getting some AC flowing because it's hot. Love the knurled finish around the start-stop button. Tab that. All systems go. Close up the driver door. Good solid sound of that closure. Taking a pan around the cabin, Looking at visibility, we've got nice tall glass and narrowish pillars, even into that third row. And if you don't have anyone sitting in the third row of seating, you can fold down the headrest, go to vehicle, and just hit that. And those are down for better outward visibility, or better still is the digital rearview mirror I mentioned as part of the Advanced Pro Tech group. Now, it doesn't matter whether your car is filled with people or stuff, it's like they're not even there. This is a super useful invention. I love when that came about. We also, in the Summit trim, have the surround view camera system. So you get that top view, very useful for parking or a few different front and rear facing camera angles, including ultra wide back, ultra wide front, narrower front, and a takeover of the whole screen for your backup view or your front camera view. With trajectory for your tires, this is super useful when you're off-roading, especially low speed stuff, trying to avoid obstacles. Love that. And you can also clean the camera at any time if it gets all dirty when you're out on the trails. Other safety stuff, standard in the Jeep Grand Cherokee L, you'll get blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic, automatic emergency braking, adaptive cruise control with lane keep assist, parking sensors, and a parking assist for parallel or perpendicular parking. Very, very useful in a longer vehicle like this. Looking at your steering wheel now, nice leather wrapping with this bronze contrast stitching on the inside here. It is heated with this Summit trim. I love that the airbag cover is in leather. That screams quality to me. And this bronze contrast stitched around that too looks so good with that Jeep logo there and the aluminum border to that. They do love to use this piano gloss black trim on the steering wheel, here on the steering wheel controls, around the window switches, all throughout the center console, including the housing for the infotainment, and even into the second row console. And I'll tell you why that's a problem. If you know me, you know this channel, I don't love piano gloss black because it smudges and scratches so easily and really only looks good when the car is perfectly clean and ideally brand new. And especially in a family SUV like this, we know the smudging and scratching is going to happen there very quickly and therefore make the vehicle look older all too soon. That's my critique with using it here on the Grand Cherokee L. But it does look good for now. We've got the steering wheel controls here. These are going to adjust the 10.25-inch digital gauge cluster, which is completely reconfigurable, and we'll go through some of those settings here, not through all of them. If you want to see all the different adjustments for the gauge cluster and infotainment, then I really suggest you watch my detailed walk-around video, but let's go through them. So we've got the night vision camera here that will take just a second to boot up. 1 Mississippi, 2, there it is. And then going right, your driver assistance features. Back to the center here, we can go up and down now from here for the setup screen, any messages, your media. Here is some of your off-road info, including your air suspension ride height, the steering wheel angle and torque split, pitch and roll. And now going up from here, your navigation, which will take over the whole screen, looking cool. Telemetry info, fuel economy, and back to the main menu. Above that, we have our head-up display, which shows your speed, posted speed limit, where you are in your navigation, and your driver assistance features. Coming back down to the right-hand side of the wheel, here where all your driver assistance features are going to be housed. To adjust them, we've got your shift paddles, plus and minus right and left-hand sides. They are very small. They do feel high quality, but they're, really small here. We've got some other buttons here to adjust your volume and media, depending on the right or left-hand side of the wheel. Your turn signals show up on the very right and very left-hand sides of the screen. And you do have one-touch signals. Very important. To adjust the steering rack, you've got a power adjustment here for your tilt and your telescope. Good amount of variability here, but it isn't the fastest power adjustments I've ever seen. Now looking at the infotainment. So as standard, the Jeep Grand Cherokee L gets an 8.4-inch touchscreen system operating Uconnect 5, their latest infotainment software, and it's very, very good. This one has the upgraded 10.1-inch screen, and it's pretty quick to respond. The resolution is nice and high. And apart from some sluggishness that I encounter as I go through different settings here, like media might take a sec. No, that's pretty quick. Okay, So it's warmed up. I was experiencing some delay earlier, but now it's being pretty quick. If we want to launch the off-road pages, here I'm not going to go through all of these different settings. I'll show you some of the cool ones. Select terrain as you go through the different drive modes here, like going into snow, into sand and mud. Rock I'm not going to go into because that adjusts the air suspension and takes a second to go in there. But we got sport. Now you're on a racetrack. Not where this vehicle is going to be found, but I like the graphics. Your suspension adjustment, your forward-facing camera, and some of the other goodies here in your vehicle dynamics and accessory gauges. So that's your off-road pages, and you've got these apps really for everything that you're going to do in the vehicle, including ambient lighting. Yes, this vehicle has ambient lighting. Only 4 different colors, sorry, 5 if you can count white. 5 different color options, but it is cool that we have ambient lighting. If you want to adjust the temperature in the vehicle, you can use this to slide to a particular setting or tap up or down. And then you have redundancies. Thank you, redundant controls. If you don't want to use the touchscreen, you can use these. Turn on your seat heating or cooling at the 3 different levels there. You've got a physical volume knob, thank you, a physical mute button, and all your HVAC controls are redundant, along with a button to turn off the screen, a physical tuner. They just split the difference nicely between having all touch or all physical controls. We also have our fam cam that shows up here, and you can zoom in on either the second or third row. And you also have a way for the mic to talk to second or third row through the speaker system without you having to raise your voice. Very useful and stuff that we've pulled out of minivans, in this case from the Chrysler Pacifica. Now pulling this up, pressing it down, raising it, you've got your wireless charging pad in here. So many different connection points. You've got 2 USBs, let me zoom in here. 2 USBs, 2 USB-Cs, an aux port, a DC socket over there, and then your wireless charging pad. That's all your front charging. Your drive mode selector is this nice aluminum housing. I mean, I know the rotary dial isn't everyone's favorite. I prefer the shifter as well, or the column mounted. I mean, if we really want to throw it back, but this is really, it's high quality feeling and looking. The aluminum gets cold in your hands. It's cool. And the adjustment through the different selections does feel solid. Your 4-wheel drive low button is there on the right hand side. Your hill descent control is here. If you want to manually raise or lower the air suspension, you can. It's over 4 inches of adjustability through the air suspension. Pretty cool. Your cup holders are here. Sort of an odd shape to those, but we do have rubber moldings in there to keep your drinks in place. Here is your Jeep key. Go this way so you can see the logo. We've got this, feels like real metal on the outsides. Might be plastic, but it does get cold. You've got unlock and lock, remote start, hitting that twice. Open the trunk by pressing this twice as well. And then your panic button there. Good heft, doesn't feel like a cheapy key at all. We have 2 different levels for the center console. First of all, this is wrapped in leather with a contrast stitching, feels very nice. Good padding there to rest your arm. Open it up to this level and you maybe throw in a garage door opener and charging cable. Open it here and you've got a bigger cubby. It's not massive though. Compared to other 3-row SUVs, I feel like this area is on the smaller side. We'll see when we get to the big bottle test. Over on the passenger side, we have that more contrast stitching on the leather and wood, aluminum. This is getting into harder plastics here. The glove box is an acceptable size. It's not too small, not huge though. Up above, we've got our cabin lights and your trunk release. Press and hold that briefly to open it up. Press it again to close it. If you're involved in an accident, the SOS emergency assistant will come on and she'll get you the emergency services you need. For your sunroof, you can tilt it with this middle button or open it completely with the left one. And I do mean completely because though it stops here, if you press it again, it will completely open up that sunroof to get as much moving air as possible, but you do have this wind baffle to stop the buffeting noise. And then you can close it with one press of the left control. Pretty quick with that operation, but if you want to close up the visor, the cover, it does take a while. When it does close though, it completely blocks out the sun to shade this cabin. Looking at your sun visors, nice and thick with fabric, feels good. Open up the vanity, good size mirror with LEDs, soft LEDs. Open this up to see your garage door controls and slide it. Yes, it does slide and completely covers this window. Now let's go check out the second row. And I want to contrast the sound of the close of this driver door with the close of the second row door. Listen to this. Did you hear that? And watch. Look at the rattle. The rattle that happens and the noise it makes, it just doesn't inspire confidence. However, looking at this second row, it does look upscale for sure. You've got the same global black Napa leather seats, heating for this second row with the Summit trim. The quilting of the bronze contrast stitch and the white piping looks nice. The seats do recline, pulling up on this tab and leaning it back. To fold them down, you just pull up and it folds completely flat, or very close to it. Almost completely flat. Open them up is very easy, just lift up. Same with the headrests. To lean it forward and get into the third row, pull up on this tab and the seat angles up and slides forward. Notice it doesn't fold in half though, because that would mean you couldn't keep a car seat there, but this design allows you to keep that car seat, and it angles forward and slides such that the access point to the third row is nice and large. Better still, getting your way back there is aided by these integrated handles. Very nice. And if you are leaning back here and you want to fold down the seats, you've got controls on the right and left hand sides to do so, to fold down that third row. But let's hop back there. Use that handle. And I'll slide over to the right-hand seat because this one is slid all the way back. And so here I am at 6 feet tall. You can see I've got, 1.5 inches, maybe even 2 inches of knee room. The foot pocket is very narrow, unfortunately. However, because this center console has this nice cutout here, my left foot isn't kind of perched up here. It can go forward a bit. But I do wish that foot pocket on the right-hand side or left-hand side under the seats was larger. Back here, this is your fam cam. You do get this microphone to hear the cabin talk. You've got your own air vents. You have a USB-C and a USB-A port, plus a cup holder. This is a smaller cup holder, but I like that this is injection molded and a little bit padded, so it's a nice place to rest your arm. Getting out, same way as getting in, just lift up on the tab and the seat goes forward. To get into this center console area from back here, you can just lift up on this tab. And again, it's not huge like the front console, but it gives you some storage space. Getting out really, really easy thanks to the articulation of this seat. And these do slide, of course. Hopping into the second row with the seat slid all the way back, and that being my driving position at 6 feet tall, look at all this knee room. Like 5 inches of it. And the foot pockets are nice and large too, so you can slide your feet under, decrease the knee angle. Thigh support's okay. I wish there was a bit more of it for long-legged individuals, and I also wish this pocket wasn't mesh, because we know kids are going to overstuff this and kill the elasticity. It's going to start to sag and just not look good. The seat back is all in hard plastic too. Would be nice to see this in injection molding. The 4-zone climate control is a really nice touch on the Summit trim, and you get 3 stages of rear seat heating. Air vents in the center here and in the B-pillar. And just a million ways to charge your devices. Your kids are never going to be fighting over charging ports because you've got 2 USB-As and 2 USB-Cs, the 115-volt AC socket. This is the captain's chairs configuration, but on lesser trims you can choose a bench seat, and I don't think that would be a problem for 3 full-size adults to fit back here because this drive shaft hump is nice and low, and so look at all my headroom. So a full-size adult will probably be able to fit in the bench seat in the middle. But here we have this center console with thick leather padding and contrast stitching. Just a tiny bit of storage in there to complement the storage that's back here. A little cubby here and smallish drink holders with the same rubber moldings like the front cup holders and this ambient glow around them that shows up at night. You've got your reading light here, grab handle, and laundry hook. In the driver door, You've got the manual sunshades I mentioned as part of that luxury package. They do cover up most of the window too. That's good to see. That same open pore wood trim and the same quilted contrast stitched inserts like the front seats, thick padded leather armrests, contrast stitching there, one touch up and down windows with laminate glass for the front and rear windows. So that keeps the cabin nice and quiet. Macintosh speaker covers here, tiny bit of storage in the door pockets and small drink holders. Storage inside the Jeep Grand Cherokee L does seem to be more precious than some of its rivals, but let's check out the trunk before we judge it too harshly. There's a button release just below the lip to power open the tailgate and reveal 17.2 cubic feet of space behind the third row seating. Backpack for reference that I'll now remove. You can power fold down the third and second row from back here in the Summit trim. Hit these buttons once. You don't have to press and hold it. I love that. You just hit it once and they fold on flat. The second row operation is even faster. Watch this. Wham! Like you don't want to be in range when those are folding down. You might get whacked. You do have to go then to the sides and press the seats down into their flatter position for maximum cargo space of over 84 cubic feet. It's not segment leading, but it's still clearly a ton. You should be able to fit furniture, big kids items, bikes, whatever back here, no problem. You can raise up the third row seating from here. You can't raise up the second row though. You have to go to the sides and lift up the seats. But once again, you just hit those buttons once. You're not standing there holding them. Tie down points up there and over there. Two more, one here and one here. Nice metal solid feel. Carpeted floor mat with Jeep embroidered on it. Lift that up for a bit of storage, kind of awkward shaped and shallow, but that is there, along with a shallow cubby here. You've got hooks and clamps on either side, along with an LED to illuminate what's going on here, and two LEDs baked in to the tailgate. Very useful for camping. DC socket here, also good for camping. And you've got your trunk close. So we'll throw the backpack back in here, close that on up. Does take a second. And now we've just got two last things to do before we hit the road. If you know the channel, you know what they are. First off is the big bottle test. Will it fit in the Grand Cherokee L? First off, the front cup holders. No. It could kind of go there, but that sloshes around too much. Center console, not the shallow one. In the deeper one, is it deep enough? Ooh, that looks tight. No, it doesn't fit in the center console. Darn. Door pocket. You're our last hope. Does it fit in the cup holder? No. Fit like this? Well, let's find out. That looks loose. Oh, it just barely stays. It's a narrow victory, a narrow pass for the Grand Cherokee L of the big bottle test. And from here, before we rev it out, I'll say if you've been enjoying this video, please like, comment, and share it. Consider subscribing to the channel. And now, let's take it for a drive. Now, as you might have expected, we're not going to be starting out these drive impressions with a launch control because A, the Jeep Grand Cherokee L doesn't have it, or a full blast of acceleration because that's not really this vehicle's purpose. Instead, with a three-row SUV, you've got to think about maneuverability both on-road and off-road. So we're starting out here in a parking lot. So we're going to click it over to reverse, check out the camera system, really nice wide angle for backing out of a parking space. Yeah, operating this aluminum rotary selector is pretty good. Feels nice and solid in the hand. And now we're going to see if you can make this U-turn. So let's pull this down and get to the surround view camera system and do the forward-facing camera just to follow along. Can we make the U-turn? Ooh, yeah. Yeah, We definitely can. That's pretty tidy for a 3-row. Perhaps not on the level of, I want to say, the Honda Pilot. That, I think, is the most impressive turning radius of any 3-row I've ever experienced. It was like on a dime. Kind of crazy how tight that turning radius was. But this was very good. We'll start with the driving position. And with all the articulation, the tilt and telescope of this wheel, all the adjustability, the 16-way power adjustments of this driver's seat, I found a really comfortable position that I feel in a command of my surroundings. The seats are also very plush, nice and supportive. And I didn't mention this in the second row, but they're also, despite the fact that they're pretty skinny, pretty darn comfy back there too. Now we'll dig in just a bit to this 3.6 liter Pentastar V6. This engine has been around since 2011. It was first applied to what was then Chrysler and then FCA. It might have been FCA at the time. FCA vehicles, now Stellantis. Don't worry, we've got the yellow. It's fine. And so the reason it's been in use for so long is because they've really been able to fine-tune it such that it's relatively power dense, it's relatively efficient, and also reasonably reliable. There are just maybe a couple minor issues with this engine, but this engine has proven to be a solid source for a lot of now Stellantis vehicles, and it works well here in the Jeep Grand Cherokee L2, making 290 horsepower and 257 pound-feet of torque. That's connected exclusively to an 8-speed torque flight converter automatic, sending power to either the rear wheels or all 4 wheels if you choose the 4x4 model. With the Summit trim, we've chosen the 4x4 in this one. I had no part in it. They chose it and gave it to me. So we're sending power to all 4 wheels, earning us fuel economy ratings of 18 in the city, 25 on the highway, and 21 combined. Not too shabby given the 4,600-ish pounds and the non-turbo engine. Thrust is reasonable. It's not so much so that it's going to really throw you in the back of the chair. I think that if you want even more grunt, you're going to be looking at the 5.7 liter Hemi V8 option that makes 357 horsepower, if I remember correctly. 0 to 60 for this one, we'll do a dig right here, is going to be 6.7 seconds, says Car and Driver. Let's hit it. And there we are. It felt a little longer than 6.7. I mean, there was a mild uphill grade there, but I want to say that was low 7s in the acceleration. But I did like the engine noise. It sounded refined. So a good noise there. And the mid-range pack is just fine. It's certainly going to be plenty for all your daily driving needs. If you need some passing power on the highway, it's got that. And using this 8-speed automatic gearbox, it just kind of blends into the background. You're not hearing a lot of engine noise when you're moseying about. The transmission is excellent at working its way through the gears. You do have some manual control over it, but I would just leave it in auto mode. The ride quality, well, first, the cabin insulation. So I mentioned that we have that acoustic laminated glass for the front and rear windows, and it definitely works. This is a reasonably quiet cabin, especially for a non-luxury vehicle, and the ride quality over very smooth roads is good. So we've got the adaptive dampers with this Summit trim and the air suspension system. The air suspension is now a 2-chamber closed loop system, and so it's faster at making the adjustments in ride height. The dampers, however, so we'll see about some sort of bumps if we can find them along our route. It gets somewhat crashy. So over bumps, when you hit them, particularly in the rear, you hear the slamming down of the body on the suspension, and you feel it too. Again, particularly coming from behind me, I don't know, with a fully laden car packed with stuff and people, if it would be quite as crashy. I do want to mention that it's an excellent braking system. The full speed stop that I tested out on my live Q&A shocked me how potent these brakes are at bringing down this, again, 4,600-ish pounds. We'll use them here at this red light, and I'll show you. It really clamps this vehicle down. That was excellent. Great braking force, and that's so important in a family SUV to know you can stop in an emergency situation. Highway driving, I'll show you some footage from my POV test drive, is really solid. Again, having that insulation in the cabin is really important, and it works great, but the active safety features that you have on hand, particularly the driving assistant, the full, I cannot remember the name for it, but with this Summit trim, you get the full driving assistant. You hit this button here, and you could do hands off for short periods of time. It does want you checking in on the wheel fairly regularly, but keeps perfectly in the center of the lane, and the adaptive cruise control system works flawlessly, keeping perfect distance behind the vehicle. But now, having talked about its on-road performance, we need, of course, to head off-road and see how it does there. And now that we're here off-road, we'll have a chance to see what this vehicle can do. So we're going to start out in auto drive mode with the ride height set at the middle setting, the average 8.3 inches of ground clearance, and we're going to make our way forward. So the Grand Cherokee L is offered with 3 different four-wheel drive systems in addition to the rear drive system. So we've got Quadra-Track 1 on lesser trims. That just means you've got a permanent four-wheel drive system with active torque factoring, sending up to 100% of available torque to the front or rear wheels. Quadra-Track 2 adds the 2-speed transfer case, so you've got a low-range set of gears. And Quadra-Drive 2, the naming doesn't make any sense to me, why not call it Quadra-Track 3, is what we have here in the Summit trim, and that means that we have the air suspension, and most importantly, an electronic limited slip differential that not just sends power to the front or rear wheels, but can send up to 100% of available torque to either the right or left rear wheel. And I have gone ahead and taken some air out of the tires. See if we can pull that up here. There we go. To give us more of a cushion here off-road and maximize the capability of these all-season tires. Yes, all-season tires. This not being equipped with the off-road package is going to be a real limiting factor, I imagine, for this vehicle. Not having the recovery points, not having the metal skid plates, and most importantly, riding on 20-inch wheels with all-season tires. We'll see what we can do. But for now, with that extra air cushion, these active dampers, while they felt crashy on-road, they're excellent here off-road. All the little undulations and bumps are taken in stride to make the ride quality totally bearable when it might otherwise be overly stiff in a different vehicle. The Pentastar V6 is smooth out here too. You've got good modulation of the throttle to give you just the right amount of oomph while not overcooking it, spinning the tires. I do hear some like creaky panels back there. But the suspension is doing its job. These kind of fire roads, what you may encounter often with the Grand Cherokee L, should be no problem. And as we approach our first real obstacle here, I'm going to pause and bring up the off-road pages. We're also going to go into the sand and mud drive mode, which will raise up the air suspension to the 4th out of 5th highest setting, which should be plenty for what we're about to encounter here. and we'll adapt the traction control system, the ABS, the transmission, the powertrain, all of that, the torque split, to our needs as we're scampering up some of these obstacles. So let's pick one out and give this a shot. Look at that. So let's dive in here. And we'll make sure we go over the Gatorade bottle that someone littered. Oh, so upsetting. And we'll just work our way. Now, four-wheel independent suspension is not the best for wheel articulation, but as we could see, it didn't matter. The Grand Cherokee L made quick work of that. And we'll go back down another. See, the turning radius that was great on-road is awesome here off-road too. And let's go find some more Dooney goodness. Let's bring back up that forward-facing camera. Mostly just because it's fun to watch. Yeah, these systems work in concert so well to make this, what looks very difficult, really easy. This is probably going to be our hardest one because this is very soft, fine powder sand. And we'll see if we can get through it. Definitely hanging wheels in certain places here. No sweat, my goodness. On all season tires, wow. Just air them down and go have fun. And now we have arrived at some rockier, hillier stuff. So we're gonna move into four-wheel drive low by going to neutral and pressing down this four-wheel drive low button for just a sec. We can see here the transfer case has transitioned. We'll move up to rock, and on select terrain, we got moving boulders and crashing lightning just to set the tone. And we'll go to the forward-facing camera so we can spot out obstacles as we encounter them. And now into drive. And here we see the air suspension is raised up fully in rock mode. We now have 10.9 inches of ground clearance, the same amount of ground clearance as a Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, in case you weren't convinced that Jeep is serious about you being able to take the Grand Cherokee L off-road. So now our approach angle is 30.1 degrees, our departure angle is 23.6 degrees, and our breakover angle is 22.6 degrees. Certainly good numbers, but also just far and away the best in this three-row SUV segment. And with the transfer case in four-wheel drive low, I just have fine-tuned control over that throttle. Just press the big toe just a little bit, and it creeps on over these rocks. We are still definitely going to be limited by these all-season tires. And that's why I'm not going to take us on the super steep hill that I did in the Toyota Land Cruiser, if you watch that off-road drive, or the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392, if you watch that review. I do it briefly in the off-road drive for this vehicle. So if you want to watch me fail, you can there, and you'll just see the limitations of these tires. You really need the all-terrain tires. You need that off-road package. You need the recovery points. You need the skid plates. Here, we're having to worry a bit more about what we're driving over, and we're worrying more about traction, even though that limited slip differential is setting up to 100% of the available power to the rear wheels, and the brake-based torque vectoring system is working for the front wheels. Because of that, and the low-range set of gears, it makes rock crawling like this super simple. Just pay attention. Don't go over a sharp rock, cut into that sidewall, and end your day early. And now, as we survey all that we have conquered, we're going to pull out the final tool in the Grand Cherokee L's kit off-road, we've got hill descent control. So you tap this button once, and now you can control the speed at which you descend a hill with the paddles on the steering wheel in half-mile-per-hour increments. That means you take your foot off the brake, and you let the traction control system, the braking system, the transmission and powertrain take care of you. It gives you a ton of confidence as a driver when you're looking at ultra steep grades with loose terrain that you're going to be just fine. And this is not clearly going to be the most insane steep grade. I would love to have shown you that big hill, but it's still a good application of the technology. We don't have hill ascent control in the Grand Cherokee L like you do in some other off-road oriented vehicles, where you can take your foot off the gas and throttle and it will just coast the vehicle up an obstacle. But this is still a very useful feature. And when you get to flatter parts like this, you can speed it on up. But then the moment it detects sort of free fall down the hill, the traction control will clamp down, the brakes will clamp down, and slow you right up. We won't have a chance to show it today, but the Jeep Grand Cherokee L also has a weight depth of 24 inches, which is more than the old Grand Cherokee. Watch, it's just going to keep going, and once it detects it, and it slows us down. That sounded harsh, but it was fine. So yeah, a weight depth of 24 inches means that, light water crossings, you're also going to be fine in this vehicle. It rounds out the off-road capability so nicely, all the different technologies, having the four-wheel drive low system, the two-speed transfer case, the sophistication of the traction control, and the electronic limited slip differential. We're able to do the dunes no problem. The suspension is so good off-road here. You just need that off-road package. And as we pop it back on-road now, it's time to discuss pricing and competition for this vehicle. You can get in the door for the Grand Cherokee L at just under $40,000. This Summit trim starts at just under 60 grand. The one as tested, this well-equipped one, is $64,770. We'll see as we go through the competition that that's definitely on the higher end. And I've just handpicked a few three-row mainstream SUV options, but there are many to choose from. We'll start with the Kia Telluride, and I'm going to choose the trim for all of these competition competitors that is most similar to the Summit grade of the Grand Cherokee. So we've got the Kia Telluride SX all-wheel drive. That starts at just under $44,000, a lot less. It makes 291 horsepower, about the same as this vehicle. 0 to 60 is 7.1 seconds, a bit slower. The fuel economy is 21 combined mpg. The cargo space is a bit more than this Grand Cherokee L. And I didn't mention the towing capacity for the Grand Cherokee L, which is 6,200 pounds. That will outclass all its rivals. If you get the 5.7 liter Hemi, it's over 7,000 pounds. So the Kia Telluride's 5,000 pounds, not even close. Then we have the Toyota Highlander Platinum. That's $48,455. It makes 295 horsepower, gets to 60 in the same as this, 6.7 seconds. Fuel economy is better at 23 combined mpg. If you want the Platinum Hybrid, you're looking at 36 combined mpg. It's a killer in terms of fuel economy. The cargo space is about the same as the Grand Cherokee L, and the towing capacity is less at 5,000 pounds. Then we have the closest in price, the Ford Explorer Platinum. That one with its twin-turbo V6 starts at $53,500-ish. It makes 365 horsepower, gets to 60 in a quick 6.2 seconds. The fuel economy is a little less at 20 combined mpg. The cargo space is a bit more, and the towing capacity is definitely less at 5,300 pounds. If you are going to choose one of those vehicles, you are going to be sacrificing the off-road capability of this Grand Cherokee L for sure, but the Kia Telluride SX is a wonderful bargain. Lots of great features, good looks, and for $44,000, it's a heck of a deal. If you want excellent fuel economy, that Toyota Highlander Platinum is a great option. But if you have the budget for it, and you want to be taking your family off-road, doing harder stuff than fire roads and gravel and things like that those other 3-row SUV vehicles could do, no problem, then the Grand Cherokee L is worth the money, in my opinion. The looks are there. The interior luxuries available to you are definitely there. It has its foibles. I think the interior storage is really lacking in this class. And the ride quality, as we're experiencing on this rougher road, is harsher than I think it should be. But I do really feel like Jeep has come out with an incredible successor to the Grand Cherokee, and it feels like it's worth the extra money. I hope you guys have enjoyed my in-depth review. Please like, comment, and share this video, and please subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys again next time.